And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to Lessons from the Library. I am your host, Ramza Strife, and this is my co host, Skye Amiri. Say hello, Skye.
Hi.
All right, Skye, what are we going to be talking about today?
We are going to be talking about famous haunts.
That's right. So today we are going to do the Amityville horror, and you're going to do Alcatraz, correct?
Yes, I'm going to be doing Alcatraz.
All right. You want to flip a coin to see who goes first?
Uh, I, let's. How about you just go first, and then I'll follow your lead.
Fair enough. All right. So, Amityville horror. Have you heard anything about it?
Not really. No.
That is surprising considering the absurd amount of fucking movies that have been made over it. Like when I
Uh,
was doing my research, there's like 18 fucking books and like 19 movies. It's crazy.
well, I'm not exactly much of a horror buff. I'm like casual.
Ah, heresy. I fucking love horror. Um, okay, so our story takes place in, you guessed it, Amityville, New York. Um, so November 13th in 1974, there's this guy called Ronald DeFeo, okay? And basically, what he did on the night of November 13th of 1974, he grabbed a rifle and he shot all six of his fucking family members in one night.
Ooh.
Killed them. So, um, what he used was a Marlin 35 rifle, and he killed his father, Ronald DeFeo Sr., who was 43, Luis DeFeo, his mother, who was also 43, and his four siblings, Don, Allison, Mark, and John. So Don being the oldest at 18, everybody else is 15 and lower. So you've got Allison who's 13, Mark who's 12, and John who's 9.
Ooh.
So yeah, he just one night he grabbed a rifle and he shot all of his family members and just killed them all. And this took place around 3 a.m. that morning. Now that date or that time is going to be very important for our story later. Let's see here. The weird part that I found out is that his parents were shot twice. Everybody else was shot once. So I found that a little odd in the police report, but we'll get into more of that later. So after all this was said and done, about 6:30 p.m. that same day, he goes to a place called Henry's Bar. Now, here's the quote. He burst into the bar and he shouted, and I quote, "You gotta help me. I think my parents have been shot." Now, I found that interesting, but in itself, but we'll get into that later. When everybody got there, they found them all face down in their beds, every single one of them. Um, the weird part was is that it looked like, according to the police report or the what do you call it, autopsy report, that where's my notes here? I'm trying to be accurate here. His mother and Allison, so Luis and Allison, the middle child, they were believed to be awake when it happened. So, um, let's see, October 14th, 1975. So almost a year later, he tried to plead insanity or not guilty by reason of insanity. He was found to be of sound mind and sentenced, or he was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder. So I'm not quite sure how the law works. I know first degree is murder with intent. I think second degree is uh second degree. It's
Hang
kind of
on,
like
I'm looking it up.
how about you Google it for
Second degree murder is defined as an intentional killing that was not premeditated.
so there you go. So first degree is premeditated with intent. Second degree is intent without premeditation, and third degree is accidental. Some states there's a thin line between third-degree murder and manslaughter, but we're not talking about justice system here.
Yeah.
So after
well, we
all
will
of
be.
that, yeah, I mean, yeah, for your bit.
Yeah.
So get this. So that same year, actually not barely 2 months later, so December 18th, 1975, the family called the Lutz move into the home. So this was barely barely a year after the killings took place. This new family moves into this house. So, and what I found fucked up in my research is that a lot of the furniture that was in there when the family died was still in there when the Lutzes moved in. So I find that bizarre, personally, because I don't think I could move into a house. It's bad enough moving into a house where a bunch of people were killed, so imagine having all the furniture that was still there. So we get into the Lutz family, who consists of George, Kathy, Daniel, Christopher, and Melissa. So the family, not long after, within the first day, the family noticed some weird shit. I didn't take it down in my notes, but apparently their family dog hung themselves on the fence when it was trying to get out. I don't think the dog died. Doesn't say anything, but I didn't even write that down. But I found that kind of weird. When it was like they claimed within the first 2 hours of actually getting into the house. So this is where all the weird stuff and paranormal, quote unquote, begin to take place. So not long after moving in, a family friend who knew the history of the house recommended a priest to bless it. Now, it's not uncommon for people with religious faith to have houses blessed when they move in.
Yeah.
I know a couple of friends who did the same. However, this priest, allegedly, we got to remember to use allegedly, went upstairs to the very top bedroom. So this was actually Dawn's bedroom from the DeFeo family. Her bedroom was at the very top. It says he was allegedly told, or it said he was allegedly slapped and told to get out by an unseen force. Okay,
Huh.
so this is the first of it. So, according to, I watched a couple of interviews. According to George Lutz, the head honcho, it seemed to affect him the most. He claims that he kept getting woken up at 3:15 a.m. every morning. Now, remember, at the start of my story, this was allegedly when the murders took place from the
Yeah.
DeFeo family. He claimed he was waking up at 3:15 a.m. every morning, feeling restless, uneasy. Kathy, the wife, she claimed that she was constantly being embraced by an unseen force. As to what she means by embraced, I have no idea. Maybe hugging, I don't know. The interesting one who was affected was Melissa. She claimed to have an invisible friend named Jody who took the form of a giant pig. Now, this is interesting because this was actually referenced in the 1979 movie, the Pig Demon or whatever the fuck. I haven't seen the movie. I just watched clips of it, but it was referenced in the movie. So, on top of all that, they claimed swarms of flies in Dawn's bedroom. So a lot of this weird stuff is going on in Dawn's bedroom at the very top. Swarms of flies, screams, footsteps, green slime, and toilets and china turning black.
Huh.
When they said green slime oozing from the walls, I thought of that bit from SpongeBob. You know the one I'm talking.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the walls will ooze green slime.
Walls will ooze green slime. Oh, wait, they always do that.
I got a chuckle out of that. So, apparently, this was all coming to a head, and one night, less than a month after they moved in, they just got up and left. They said nope. They said nope. Fuck you. We're out. And to this day, they never specified what caused them to leave that night. And unfortunately, I don't know about the wife, but George Lutz died not too long ago. So, at least I think he did. I'm pretty sure. I gotta be accurate with these notes, but I'm pretty sure he's dead. If not if he is, it happened recently. So now this is where my hooey meter starts going off. So, not long after they moved out, they contacted a parapsychologist by the name of Kaplan. Now I tried Googling it. It's very hard to find. The only name this guy goes by is Kaplan, and he was a parapsychologist in New York. He wanted to take the story public, but George Lutz heavily opposed it. Unfortunately, Kaplan did. He took it public. And before that, George Lutz was going to let Kaplan investigate the house and a small team. But after Kaplan went public with George Lutz's story, he said, nope, you're not doing an investigation. So that same day, a press conference was held on the haunting, the events. And you're not going to believe who was in charge of the press conference.
I'm going to
You're not
guess
gonna be
either.
You're not going to be able to guess because I haven't said his name yet. But
Oh, okay.
it was rhetorical. So the person who headed the conference was a guy by the name of William Weber. Now this guy is interesting because not only was he representing the Lutz family over the events of what happened, at the same time, he was representing Ronald DeFeo with his appeals. So he was Ronald DeFeo's attorney, basically, for appeals court. So I found that very odd. Let's see here. George and Kathy sat down with William Weber one night, and they got to talking about the events that happened. And the same night, Weber was already drawing up contracts for book deals and movies. Not even 2 years after the murders and everything went down.
What?
Yeah, so this guy's a real piece of work. So not only did he draw up contracts for book deals and movies, he also sent a contract to Ronald DeFeo stating he would get 5% of the proceeds. So this guy's a real fucking piece of work. So after all that, the Lutz ceased all contact with William Weber. They said, nope, we're done. We're not going to talk to you anymore. Okay. So this is the part of the story that gets interesting. Have you heard of Ed and Lorraine Warren?
No.
Have you watched the Conjuring movies at all?
No.
No, really. So,
like I said, casual.
Yeah, you did say casual. So Ed and Lorraine Warren, they were a famous group of paranormal investigators. A lot of the famous hauntings you might hear about, such as, Amityville, Haunting in Connecticut, Annabelle, the Evil Doll, all that shit. That's all Ed and Lorraine Warren's case files. So they also... Warner Brothers, they're also a part of the Conjuring universe. So if you ever watch any of the Conjuring movies, they're based off the Ed and Lorraine case files. So that's who they are. I'm really shocked you haven't seen any of them.
Nope.
Wow. Okay, we got to fix that sometime. They're not bad. Some of them are pretty dog shit. So where are we? So, a local reporter for Channel 5 News contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren. And on March 6th, 1976, Ed and Lorraine, along with Channel 5 and a bunch of unnamed psychics, investigated the house for one night.
Hmm.
So what's interesting to note here is that there's hardly any, like, how do I put this? Not hardly any evidence caught on video or tape or anything. We'll get into the alleged evidence here soon, but a lot of it was felt physically by the psychics, by Lorraine. Some people, let's see, one of the guys reported chest pains. The psychics saying they felt the remnants of the murders that took place 2 years prior, or a year prior, I guess. Faces in the windows, people crying. Now, when Lorraine reached the top room, again, this is Dawn's room, so apparently a lot of this shit's going down in Dawn's room at the very top. She actually said a famous quote that says, and I quote, "I hope this is as close to hell as I'll ever get." Like I said, most of the events were felt physically rather than being caught on camera. Actually, there's 2 photographs that came out of it, and we're gonna go to the Discord channel that I posted all the shit in, and I'll put it on in post so the audience can see. But the first picture, let's see, is the one with all the people standing around. You see that one with the moose head?
Yes.
So if you click on that and we take a look, apparently this was taken after Lorraine, who kept a photo with her at all times during the investigation, it was of a priest. And I don't know if I wrote his name down or not. It was Father Piero or Pedro or something like that. Something like that. And evidently, so take a look at the moose head.
Yeah.
Do you see the spot in between the 2 antlers?
Yeah.
Allegedly, if you look in that, I'll highlight it so the audience can see, but I'm trying to show you. So allegedly, that is the face of Father Piero.
Huh.
If you look in between the antlers, I'll circle it for you so you can see it after we're done with the podcast. But evidently, this is a picture of the father watching over them, and immediately I said, "That's fucking pareidolia. There is nothing there."
Yeah,
'Cause
that just looks like a shadow.
yeah, it looks like a piece of the ear, but evidently they said it was a ghost. I just think it's an extreme case of pareidolia. That you see faces and shit like that all the
Yeah.
time in these old timey photographs.
Yeah, seeing faces in things.
There's that famous one where they thought there was a giant face on Mars. Do you remember that one?
Not really, no.
No, I'll put it up as a reference. But apparently, the satellite caught a picture of a giant face on Mars, and it was just a bunch of mountains. But the old 60s and 70s black and white photographs, you can make faces out of damn near everything.
Yeah.
This was back when, like, there was no digital cameras or anything like that. The second one is actually the most famous out of all this, and it's that one right next to it. So this was caught on the second floor landing. And if you look over, obviously it's off to the right, you see it enhanced, but off to the left is evidently a picture of a boy peeking out of the window. So what they said was that they set up an infrared camera, and it was just taking pictures every so often. And out of all the photographs, this one caught everybody's eye because of that, allegedly, that little boy peeking out of the window. And what's interesting is that everybody believes it to be John DeFeo, the little boy, the youngest that was killed.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 picture evidence that came out of this case, and I find the first one absolutely fucking ludicrous, so I'm not even counting that.
Is it Also, is it just me, or could you also interpret that as like, I mean, I don't know about the structure of the house, but that looks like it could have been just like one of those like little handhold things. And it's just like the light reflecting off of it because it's like shiny wood or whatever.
Are you talking about the first photo or the second one
The second photo.
with the boy peeking out?
Yeah, with the boy peeking out. That just looks like a handhold that, like, you know those like wooden handhold knob things that they have
Oh,
on like staircases?
yep, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of the theories. What I find even more in what my personal theory is that I think it was somebody's kid that was there. That even though they said there was no kids on premises that night, you could say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's true. I think it's just somebody's kid, and some of them realized that, but nobody said anything because when like immediately after they found this photograph, like Ed Warren just went, here's your fucking proof of a ghost. And I think nobody wanted to embarrass Ed. So everybody's just like, yeah, it's a fucking ghost, because
Whatever you say, Grandpa. Let's get you back to bed.
well, the thing is that Ed and Lorraine were really respected back then. And I kind of get it. I think Ed jumped the gun, maybe. And I think other people were just forced to go with it because they didn't want to fucking embarrass him in live TV. So.
Yeah.
That's about all I have for my notes. Now we're going to get into my opinions of this. My problem is that I'm extremely biased. I believe in the paranormal. I've had shit happen to me. Or at least I should say I've had shit happen to where I can't explain. So I'm a little bit biased. I'm a little bit biased towards the paranormal world. However, I find this all bullshit.
Yeah.
I think it was just a quick money-making scheme that the Lutzes used based on the events that happened with the DeFeo family. That's based on what I've watched and what I've researched. I don't think this was real ghosts. I really don't. And this was also. Well, go ahead, Skye.
Huh?
Were you gonna say something?
No, I was like, I'm just like nodding along and agreeing with you because
Okay. Because I don't think this was ghosts. The problem I was having was that I was more fascinated in the DeFeo case than I was the Lutz's case. Because
Yeah.
there are so many inconsistencies with the murder case. For one, I made it a huge note here. The rifle that was used to kill them. I also posted it in the group chat. It's that picture of that rifle right there.
yeah.
It's a Marlin 35, so it shoots a 35 Remington. So it's a rifle caliber. Because at first I was like, okay, because the problem is that nobody fucking heard anything. Nobody. Like the neighbors, nobody heard gunshots. So I thought, okay, he used a 22 or 35, some really small pistol caliber round. No, he used a fucking rifle round. And I don't know, have you ever shot guns before?
Once or twice.
Have you ever shot one without ear pro?
Uh,
Earplugs, basically.
yeah, I don't remember if I did or not.
Okay,
But
let me tell you something.
I did grow up in a military family, and my mother has hearing loss because they never wore ear protection.
Right. So, summers ago, we went out to the countryside to shoot some guns, and my brother had, I should say, an AR pistol. So it's a 5.56. It's an AR pistol. I don't
Yeah.
want to call it anything. It's called an AR pistol for legal reasons. So I went to shoot it, and when I had the ear pro on my head, I had one ear uncovered. And when I shot that fucking thing, It was so goddamn loud. You know that bit? Have you seen Saving Private Ryan?
Uh, like I've
Uh,
seen. I
you know
think
the
I
you know
have. It was just a long time ago.
the famous D-Day scene where he's just standing there and he's watching everything go down, and that really loud ringing just starts picking up.
Well, yeah, the shell shock.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Like I just heard muffling and then ringing. Like I could not hear a goddamn thing out of the right side of my ear. So for this fucking guy, let's see, let's do the math here. So let's see, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So to shoot this fucking thing 8 times in an enclosed space, mind you, when I did it, I shot it outside and I couldn't hear shit. So imagine shooting it in a closed space. You're not. They would have arrested. They would have gone like, "You're under arrest, Mr. DeFeo," and he would have been like, "What?" He
Yeah.
can't hear shit. And like I said, there's just so many. Like I said, I just find the DeFeo thing far more fascinating than the Let's thing. I could go on
Yeah.
for hours about it. And like I
And
said, there's just so many. There's a belief that Don was basically the whole thing is that it's believed he didn't act alone because there's no way in fucking hell he could have. And a lot of people are pointing to Dawn, the oldest sister. Apparently, allegedly, there is some relationship stuff there that's not normal. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Sweet
So
home Alabama.
for uh, for YouTube, we'll just leave it at that. It is believed that she had a hand in it, and like we could go on forever about it. It's believed that she took part in it, and she killed the siblings who Ronald DeFeo Jr. did not want, and he ended up shooting her in retaliation. And
Yeah.
he just took the rap. He just took the rap for all of them. What the most interesting part I found, like I said, I'm going more into the DeFeo case because I'm more fascinated with that.
Yeah.
It is believed, and this was Ronald DeFeo's own words, because there's interviews of him in prison. He claimed that he was sitting on the couch one night watching a war movie, and he claimed to hear voices of his family conspiring to kill him in the next room. And he said a demon with black hands handed him the rifle.
Huh.
Now, get this. Evidently, this is New York in the 70s, so there's fucking, organized crime and shit. Apparently, there might have been some organized crime shit going on with the family. And allegedly, there was a stakeout of the DeFeo family house. And I say allegedly a lot. One of the detectives watched Don leave the house with a pair of black gloves, holding the rifle.
Huh.
Right. So, like I said, it looks to me like a fucking mob hit. That's exactly what, and they said that the mafia was ruled out, but that's what it fucking looks like.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not excluding DeFeo Jr. or anything. What he did was fucking horrible, whatever he did. But I kind of feel bad. Let me put it this way: I feel bad for the DeFeo family because their tragedy is being profited off of by the Lutz and everybody else writing these fucking movies and books and shit.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for DeFeo Jr. necessarily. I feel bad for the family. And I think there was only one surviving member at the time of the murders. It was DeFeo Jr. and his uncle, grandpa, one of those guys. And just the more I researched this, the more I was leaning towards the murder stuff. But the problem is that we're doing paranormal shit, so I had to steer away from the murder stuff. Hell, even then, I still went on a 10-minute tangent about the murder stuff, but
Yeah, it's like we came here for famous haunts, and instead we're doing a true crime podcast.
yeah, I know. God, I couldn't help it. I was so fascinated because
It's fine. I'll make up for it.
it's just this whole fucking Amityville horror shit's a bunch of hooey. My hooey meter was going off. So the reason why I still think it's a load of horse shit is because the house exchanged owners over the years. And I posted some more pictures in the group chat. So if you look at the very first one, the black and white, that's what the house looked like in 1973.
Yeah.
And I'll put it up on screen. So every single book or movie that you're going to watch heavily emphasizes those arch windows you see at the top.
Yeah.
Every time you see a piece of Amityville media, those fucking arch windows are going to be front and center because it's the most infamous part of the house because people are like, oh, it's the evil eyes of the house, whatever. So if we fast forward, I couldn't find a date on this picture, but this is the house within the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So they renovated it and they got rid of the arch windows. So now I'm assuming they removed them to kind of distance themselves between the past and the past history of the shit going on in the house.
Yeah.
And to kind of, because I guess people that live there, like fucking people go there all the time to look at the house. Because like this was a big fucking deal in the 70s and 80s. So I imagine they completely renovated it. They got rid of everything. So the other pictures of the houses I have, because like I said, a fucking ludicrous amount of books and movies.
Yeah.
So if you look right here, I actually wrote some notes on them. This is the house that took place in the 1979 movie, which is kind of fucked up to me because it's not even 10 years after the murders and they're already fucking making movies about it.
Yeah.
That was a little bizarre to me. So this one's actually New Jersey. The top is in the movie. The bottom is the actual house. So I guess they kind of built around it to make it look like the one in New York.
Huh.
But that's the real house in New Jersey. And if we come down here to this third one, this is in the 2005 movie. And if you look, this is the front shot and then the back shot, the photo after that, it's got if you notice, all these have those famous arch windows.
Yep.
So, yeah, what I'm trying to get at basically is I think this was just one giant fucking money-making scheme.
Yeah, it makes sense.
There's no ghosts. There's nothing spooky. I just think it was capitalizing on a fucking family tragedy. So, I'm going to say not haunted. Definitely not.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. Like even those two pictures of the quote unquote ghosts can literally be explained as like 5 different things.
Which, don't get me wrong, I want the Ghost Boy photo. I want that to be real. I really, really do, because that is unnerving. If it was real, but I don't think it is. I think it's somebody's kid that got in the shot and they didn't want to say nothing.
Yeah, or it's one of those like little wooden hand knob things. Right.
And who's to say that, in the picture, off to the right, it's zoomed in. Who's to say that wasn't photoshopped or anything like that,
Yeah.
Because you could do it back then. It just wasn't as quick and easy.
Yeah.
So, that's all I got for Amityville. I think we're going to move on to Alcatraz now.
All right. That's me. All right.
You've got the floor.
Yep. So, Alcatraz Island, San Francisco, California. It is Alcatraz. The paranormal stuff does not even begin with the penitentiary itself. It actually begins centuries prior, because Alcatraz Island was actually
like an Indian burial ground.
Yeah, it was an Indian burial ground.
I know a little bit of Alcatraz.
Yeah. It was, here it is, as severe punishment for violations of tribal law, Indians were sometimes isolated on the island or even banished for life to live among the evil spirits. So already, it was an Indian burial ground. It had a reputation for having evil spirits, and then people were banished to it as a prison island, even for the Native Americans.
You know what's funny? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's funny because a lot of the time, even people that don't believe in ghosts, nobody fucks with Indian burial grounds.
Yeah.
Nobody. I find it great.
It's just bad vibes in general. Like, even if you don't believe in ghosts, it's just bad vibes.
Everybody just, the same thing with Ouija boards. Everybody just stays the fuck away from them because they don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
But continue. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine. Let's see. So, then eventually it got turned into, a federal penitentiary. Several guards on the penitentiary reported, like, extraordinary experiences, including hearing sobbing, moaning, terrible smells, and something that they called the Thing, which was just said to be an entity with glowing eyes.
I know that one, yeah.
Yeah, and
it would sit in the corner of people's cells. It was fucking wild.
Yeah, and they would even see phantom prisoners and soldiers. And let's see. Yeah, even Warden Johnston, who did not believe in ghosts, once encountered the unmistakable sounds of a woman sobbing while leading several guests on a tour of the prison.
We're off to a great start.
Yeah, and it was heard by the guests, too. So, it was like... yeah, it... Just as the sobbing stopped, an icy cold wind blew through the group.
So the spooky dial's already cranked to fucking 11.
Yeah. Allegedly.
we gotta use that. We gotta use that term.
Let's see, what else? So there's also the notorious D Block, which what is it? After a 1939 escape attempt, a prisoner named Arthur Doc Barker was killed. D Block became known as the treatment unit, comprised of 42 cells with varying degrees of restrictions. There was no contact with the general population, so everyone in D Block stayed in D Block, and nobody from outside of D Block could interact with D Block.
Yeah, the way that works is studies have shown that isolation is like one of the worst forms of torture.
Yeah.
And go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No. You're good. You're good. I'm using it to collect my thoughts anyway. So on top of that, 5 or 6 cells in D Block are actually were actually sectioned off to act as the whole. So it's like, solitary confinement.
Right.
Let's see. What were the wonderful perks of the whole? Located at the bottom tier, the coldest place in the prison, contained only a sink, a toilet, and a low wattage light bulb that the guards could turn off. The prisoners' mattresses were taken away during the day, and they were not allowed any time in the yard or showers or given reading materials.
It was in the 40s.
Yep.
Human prisoner rights weren't exactly a thing back then.
Yeah. There was apparently another strip cell known as the Oriental, which was the most severe punishment. Let's see. It was a dark steel encased cell, no sink or toilet, just a small hole in the floor for, waste. Inmates were placed naked in the cell, given a restricted diet, and confined in a pitch black, cold environment. And they were subjected to it for 1 to 2 days.
Which could feel like an eternity to those guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, time only moves as fast as you perceive it. So 1 to 2 days in those kind of conditions could feel like, weeks.
Weeks, yeah. It's like I said before, prisoner rights weren't exactly at the top of the list back in the 30s and 40s. So
Yeah.
none of this surprises me.
But because of all of this mistreatment and the quite, I don't see that anyone particularly died. Oh, wait, never mind. I just found there was apparently an inmate that was strangled by a guard who'd finally had enough of his screaming. And so, like, obviously the conditions probably killed some people.
That's the thing, though. It's that this is just documented. Imagine all the shit that wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But nowadays, D Block is said to be like, the spot for paranormal activity. Like, it's often and specifically cells 12 and 14. 14D is often reported to be almost 20 degrees colder than the rest of the cells. And like psychic investigators have felt emotionally charged impressions in the corners of the cells where punished prisoners were known to have crouched and suffered.
It's funny you bring up 13 and 14 because a lot of the paranormal shows and documentaries that you watch about Alcatraz, those are always brought up. And I say
Yeah.
that because Ghost Adventures, whether you like the show or you don't, personally, I like it because it's entertaining. They'd made a whole fucking big deal about 13 and 14. Cells 13 and 14. So I actually know exactly what you're talking about because like I said, I watch Ghost Adventures all the fucking time and I see that episode all the time. So I know I can picture it in my head exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. There's also this one is so obviously that's it's where they threw Alcatraz, where they threw Capone, and he was never allowed a musical instrument or a radio, but many have reported the sound of a phantom banjo strumming where, like, they report hearing banjo where his cell was.
I could just imagine like you're investigating at night and you just hear the fucking opening riff from Deliverance, you know. That cracks me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Capone is one of the famous ones in there. There was a couple more, but I don't remember.
There's one. I'm trying to see if I can find it. But I do remember one particular one. Oh, there we go. So there's a laundry room in cell block C, said to hold an unseen presence. A psychic was brought in to investigate, and she described a tall man with a bald head and small beady eyes. Let's see. So, and she, like, apparently someone else said that it was a guy named Butcher who was actually killed in the laundry area. Like, another prisoner, prison shanked him or whatever.
Right. It sounds like a case of the stone tape theory. Have you heard anything about that?
No.
So basically what the stone tape theory is, in a layman's terms, it's, say, the walls, the floor, anything that's nailed down in there, pipes, stuff like that. It's believed that, I'm going to sound like a doofus for saying this. They believe that it captures the specific moment in time where something bad happens. So like that guy who got stabbed, that energy is transferred into the walls and floors
Huh.
and it's kind of like a playback reel where the ghosts, quote unquote, they use the energy from the walls, the floors, like I said, anything, pipes, whatever, and they use that to kind of replay the bad moments that happened. And that sounds like the stone tape theory to me,
Huh.
because like if he says he got murdered down there, like it's a lot of spirit paranormal mumbo jumbo, but basically it's
Yeah.
just it captures the energy and it just plays it back. So that's what stone tape theory is in layman's terms, and that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. And there's tons of these. There's like tons of reports of just like from all over the prison, just the old hospital warm. Park personnel have often heard voices and screams of inmates who were secured to a table until they were calmed down.
Naturally.
There's just like a bunch of reports of screams and voices and all sorts of things in Alcatraz.
I imagine hospitals are like the worst for shit like that,
Yeah,
especially back in those days. Just the inhumane shit people did to other people, and like electroshock therapy was a thing, and just it's torture. It's medical torture, is what I like
yeah.
to call it.
I mean, there is a reason why Alcatraz Island is the basis for the like Arkham Asylum.
Oh, don't even get me started on Batman. I fucking love Batman. I didn't know that though. It would
But
make sense that it would make sense that I don't know if it's true or not, but like Arkham is based off of Alcatraz.
I mean, I I haven't seen anything that says that, but I'm just going off of a very, very heavy assumption that it is. Because,
Yeah.
like, what else would it be based off of?
Right, exactly. So, anything else interesting?
Uh, no, not really. It's
No?
mostly just like, the miscellaneous screaming and voices and all that stuff. So I think that
Things
wraps it
on the
up.
night.
Yeah.
All right. So sounds like the youngin's awake. So what is your take? Do you believe all this stuff?
Uh, See, unlike with the Amityville stuff, I actually do think that Alcatraz is haunted like this. Like, not only is the history so, uh, it goes back even further than just the penitentiary. So, it's like it goes so far back. And then on top of that, just all the horrible stuff that happened there. It's like it wouldn't like I believe in ghosts as well, and it honestly would not shock me at all if all this stuff was true.
I'm in the same boat. I think it is. Like I said, the Indian burial ground thing and all the shit the Indians did certainly don't help. And like I said, with all the shit that's gone down there, and that's just the stuff that's been documented.
Yeah.
God knows what the fuck happened that just didn't get reported, and what people went through. It's fucking nuts. I don't wish it upon my enemies.
Not to mention, from what I understand of like urban legends when it comes to supernatural stuff, supernatural beings have trouble crossing like running water. And Alcatraz is an island in the middle of like
Surrounded by water, yeah.
yes, San Francisco Bay. So it's literally
A cage.
it's a cage for all these spirits.
Yeah, sounds like it. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I remember, because like I said, I know you didn't know anything about Amityville, but I know quite a bit about Alcatraz.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't? Anybody that's a fan of the ghosts and shit.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the black being with red eyes. That was a big one.
Yeah. Well, it just says glowing eyes.
Right.
But
Red
yeah.
eyes, glowing eyes, whatever. If I remember correctly, there was an inmate who killed themselves over that.
Huh.
Not to take over your story or nothing, but if I remember correctly, there was an inmate who reported being watched by this thing in the corner all night and was screaming to be let out. And they opened the cell next day, and he hung himself. He was dead. So
Huh.
that's the story that I think about the most when it comes to Alcatraz. And of course, there's the famous escape. I don't know but that's not really paranormal.
Yeah.
If you know anything about that.
I vaguely remember the stuff about the escape.
If we ever do an episode on like mysteries, I think that would be a good one. But yeah, and that's the problem. Like I said, I believe the Alcatraz stuff. The problem I was running into with mine is that a lot of the shit I was because like we were going to do 2 topics originally, and my second topic was going to be a haunting in Connecticut, which is another Lorraine thing, Ed and Lorraine Warren thing, and that one just seemed even more fucking hokey than the Amityville one. That's kind of why I approached you and said, "Can we just do one topic?" Because the second one is even more fucking ludicrous, and I don't feel like covering it.
Fair enough.
Even that one felt like another ploy to get money to me. It's what a lot of these. It sucks too because it coincides with Ed and Lorraine Warren being involved in a lot of these that become so goddamn famous, and it's like it's just a money making machine.
Yeah.
And with Alcatraz, I don't feel that way. I feel like there is some shit going on down there, and it just can't be explained.
Yeah. And again, that is also possibly because of the history of it, because it goes back like centuries.
Oh yeah, it just before it even was an island, before it was a prison. Just God knows how long it was there.
It was still technically a prison back then too.
Well, yeah, and technically, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that brings back there's 2 things I don't fuck with, Chief, and that's Indian burial grounds and Ouija boards.
Yep.
I want nothing to do with them. I remember, I think I was telling you when we went ghost hunting that I don't know if I ever talked to you about that or not. I think I did. I was sending you pictures.
I vaguely remember you mentioning it. I don't remember anything else though.
Yeah, it's a old hotel around in my state. We were investigating one night, and a bunch of teenagers showed up, and they brought a fucking Ouija board. And there was like 7 of us, including me and my brother, and everybody else was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And me and my brother were like, "No, fuck no!" And we sat out in the car for 2 hours, and we wanted nothing to fucking do with that Ouija board. Because you never know. A lot of bad shit happens because of Ouija boards. The famous Exorcist story, you know, based off a true story. It happened with a Ouija board apparently, and there's just some shit you shouldn't fuck with or talk to. But what are we clocking in at? 40 minutes?
I'm clocking in at 53.
53? Really? My time must be off. Is there anything else you wish to talk about?
No, I think that about covers it.
You think so? You think we should wrap up?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. This was episode 1 of Lessons from the Library. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah.